I'm sitting here, it's like, when is this gonna happen? So I've been waiting for this, and then you're like, do you want to come on? And it's like, wait, I better not be the first person you're interviewing. I've been waiting this whole time. I do not want to wait 6 more months for the Kimomu
Oh, yeah.
podcast.
Oh.
What's the thing that moved us into that mode of separation is industrialism and the focus on productivity and economic growth.
What if something crazy happens? What if, like, the whole grid goes down and we can't go back up for some reason? Like, how do we know what's gonna happen? We're gonna need to know how to sustain ourselves.
We're dependent on other people, like grocery stores, right? If the grid is down and Central Hub doesn't have means or desire to send it, people at your grocery store running it are just as screwed as you are.
A lot of the times people scoff at like preppers, right? Because people think that it's like so unrealistic, but you don't know what's gonna happen. And I don't think they really stop and think about and realize how dependent they are.
Ooh, I wasn't thinking about that, and that's kind of uncomfortable. That's going to interrupt how I'm kind of doing things right now, so could I not think about that? You know what?
Yeah.
I just came up with the answer. You're an idiot. You're preppers, dummies. I don't have to think about that.
I would literally cry because, like, wow, I want to be singing right now. I don't want to be sitting here doing this, like, meaningless work. So, like, I know, like, that's where the gold's at. I know what I'm being guided to. That's the right path for me. And that's the best way for me to be in alignment and feel good and do my best work in the world.
I'm going to name drop. If anyone wants to be a small streamer, then they should have, like, private streams. And I don't know what you were doing if that's not what you wanted. So
I want to show those people support. Like, I want to support those people in what they're doing. I want to make them feel like, yeah, like I'm doing the right thing and feel recognized and appreciated.
You're a leader. You're a leader, Kimberly. So you never say it's like, look, guys, I'm in charge, I'm the leader, but you're leading people.
All right, I'm gonna light this ceremonial podcast candle. It's official. Starting. Oh, tadaima.
Okay.
I had to get a little snack. I don't know how long you were back. Sorry.
No, I wasn't back that long. I had some yogurt really quick.
Perfect. We had like a unspoken agreed upon agreement to get a snack.
Yeah,
It
we're
worked out.
on the same wavelength.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to start back at the beginning. Let's turn the dial all the way back, like 2020. Right. How did I come across your stream? Someone raided into your stream. I don't remember who it was, but someone raided into your stream, and I was there, and immediately it was like, whoa, there is a whole vibe going on here.
Whole ass vibe.
Yeah, whole ass vibe, multiple asses of vibe even. Yeah. Yeah, and while I made myself another cup of tea. While I was making it, I was thinking, it's like, there's like a very like specific feeling to it. It's hard to put a finger on, but I think probably the closest thing to it is like a very clear feeling of like an attitude of like exploring maybe achievement and like intentfulness about it. Like you have a very strong aura of intentfulness that I think like comes across like to anyone who comes to one of your streams. Some of your more recent ones are like a lot more chill. Before it was like, all right guys, today we're working on this and we've got a new setup and the decorations are all here, like everything's like we're gonna do this stuff. Maybe it didn't always happen, but it was like such like a sharp feeling of like focus, like we're gonna like go in this direction and like work on achieving these things today. Like here's the theme. And I think that's what I was saying earlier before we went on our little break. It's like that feeling of like wanting to know like what you're going towards, or like trying to explore, like figure out something, or like make a couple things dive and like line yourself up with them. I think
Mm.
is like for me like the kimomu vibe.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
Um, that is, yeah, that's always present in like all of our interactions. Like the
Hmm.
when it's like, oh yeah, I got to spend some time with Kimberly, right, with Kimomu today. It's like I know it's happening like distinct from other interactions because like that sort of thing is like very present.
Oh.
Um, and I think related to that, it's like we kind of like go like a few weeks without talking to each other sometimes, right? So, but I feel like that thread is always kind of there. It's just like, oh yeah, it's like I know like you're just off exploring your thing, and it's like if it comes into my mind to ask about it, then it's probably for a reason because I'm off doing my own thing, and so like that pops back into my head. So it's
Mm.
like I feel like that's like kind of a mutual thread too, like kind of wanting to like explore, develop something like really specific. Um, and every once in a while we come back and we share about it.
Mm-hmm.
But even in like the absence, there's like kind of just knowing it's like, well, if you're not chatting or doing something or streaming, then it's probably because you're off exploring that thing. Like I can't see you doing it, but it's just like that's what you're about. So why wouldn't you be doing that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or
yeah, yeah. Did I hit it on the
sometimes,
nose? Am I right?
yeah, yeah. Or sometimes I'm just like, oh, I'm gonna try this new thing and like paint rainbows for a month. And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah,
Sometimes I
yeah.
do
But
just like go off on
even
a
that,
random tangent.
it's so specific though. It's not just like I'm going to explore art, or it's like I'm going to go off and paint specifically rainbows for a month. And it won't be for no reason. It'll be because like I really feel like I need to paint rainbows right
Yeah.
now. I am being called to paint rainbows. That's kimomu.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I try
Do
to
you agree with
do,
that? Like you're being called to do different things like a lot. It's not just like, oh, shiny. It's like, no, no, I feel like called to explore this for a bit.
yeah. Uh, with this, with my current perspective in life, and like probably since I've known you, um, yeah, I feel like one of my biggest intentions is to go with the flow and like listen to like whatever I'm guided to, because
Mm-hmm.
I know, well, especially since like becoming more spiritual, like I know like that's where the gold's at. I know that's what I'm being guided to. That's the right path for me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the best way for me to be in alignment and feel good and do my best work in the world. So that's my reasons for that.
Yeah, that's. I feel like before that too. So you really leaned into it, but even
Mm.
when you were still working, I feel like it was always very present that there was this bit of your mind that was like pointed towards that, and so you freed up, I think,
Yeah.
the rest of your mind to point at it.
Yeah,
But
yeah. I
yeah.
think you're right. Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, since you mentioned that, like, when I think about like how I was before, like, yeah, I kind of like I always knew, like, even when I wasn't living that way, like when I was like doing other jobs that I didn't really like, um, I would have, I would know this part of me was like hurting because I was not letting it express because I was spending
Hmm.
so much time doing this other job that had no, I had no interest in, just like spending that time just solely for the income.
Hmm.
And that would really hurt me. There would be like times where I'd be sitting at work, like I had this office job, kind of an office job, and I could listen to music while I was working. And sometimes I would just have this playlist on of songs that I really love to sing. And I would be like singing the song in my body, like inside. And it would like give me the feels so much that I would like be crying. I would literally cry because like, wow, I want to be singing right now. I don't want to be sitting here doing this
Hmm.
like meaningless work.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It's like that energy is trying to move through you, and
yeah.
like since you're deciding to work instead, you have to like work and also like shut that part down. I think that's where the pain comes from. I did it too, where it's
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like you spend so much energy like on your job that it's like your energy is kind of scattered at the end of the day, and so then it's like, well, there's stuff that I actually wanted to do for myself though, so now I guess I just have to scrap my energy back together and see what's left over and make a little bit of progress.
Mm.
Um, it's not going to be fast. It's like I'm going to have to like come up with this weird strategy to be able to like do the important stuff to me in any order, not necessarily the order I want, just something where it'll be a, two steps forward, one step back while I'm sleeping on it again, um, and slowly like claw our way forward, but can't make momentum because this other thing's sucking up all the energy.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, uh, streaming or starting to stream had really, that opened up a lot of new perspectives for me. Like, and especially regarding community, I think. Because, like, when I started streaming, I was like, okay, how does this even work? Like, I'm just gonna go and try to do it. I didn't really, like, try to look at anyone else's streams and get an idea of what I want it to be like. I just tried to do what I wanted to, or what I had the idea that I might want to do. And eventually I started, like, exploring or looking for like what my interests might be on Twitch, and then I started finding other people's streams, and I think that's how I ended up even getting like any kind of audience, because I became active in other communities, other streams,
Yeah,
and
that's
that's how
right.
people got to know me. So it was really like
Man, I want to say
it was like a
I think it was
networking.
Nana's stream.
Oh
Did
yeah,
did
yeah, she was one
Nana?
of my first ones that I started
Yeah,
going
yeah,
in and meeting people and
yeah, yeah,
talking a
yeah.
lot. Yeah, so she might have been the person that rated me that time that you ended up
I
on my
think
stream.
so. And I think it was maybe only like the one, like a couple times, and that's why it's like, but
Mm,
that's the name that comes to mind. But it's like, wow, I don't really associate you with Nana anymore. But she kind of dropped off too, I guess. So
hmm. Yeah, everything. I mean, yeah, I feel like that whole group of streamers, like, I mean, I don't know, a lot of changes happened, a lot of change in focus. So, like, everybody kind of moved around into doing whatever they ended up doing, and it's
yeah.
kind of not there anymore. I don't know, maybe for some people, I know, like, there are a few people who still stream and get together, but it's like a lot
Hmm.
smaller group than it was.
Oh yeah, you're not really in the crowd anymore. I took some time off, but there is still like a little bit of connections.
Aww.
Especially like the Japanese learning crowd, I
Yeah.
think got a bit fractured, um,
Yeah.
and is like starting to piece back together. So
Oh.
it's smaller, but also like I don't mind because it's easier if I only have to keep track of like maybe three or four people who probably aren't all online at the same on the same day.
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise I'll get sucked into watching Twitch all day.
Yeah.
Oh
That's what
no,
used to
ratings
happen.
so and so.
That was my
I
life in
know.
2020. Work and Twitch
Yeah.
streams,
Well,
and that was everything. Or
yeah. I
Twitch
mean, it
streams
was
while I was
2020.
working. All
Yeah.
day.
Yeah. It was fun though. That was a
Yeah,
fun time.
it was.
I enjoyed that part of life, but you can't do that
Mm,
forever.
right, yeah. It was a phase. It was a fun phase. But, yeah. Always moving, always evolving.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. Wow. How much do I want to say about that? What's the vibe of this podcast? Like, what reach do you think it will have? Like, should I start just like dropping people's names, or like eventually like
I
2 years from now, when you've got 1,000 podcast followers, is that going to be too many people to like jump into? Like, I didn't think about that when I mentioned Nana, but it doesn't matter because she doesn't stream anymore, so no one can come bomb us in that stream. But do I want to mention the whole circle that's going on now, or is that
It's up
too
to you,
public?
but well, I will say that I anticipate, and my intention is that this podcast is going to grow very fast and very big. So that's what I think.
I'm just gonna bring. I'm gonna name drop. If anyone wants to be a small streamer, then they should have like private streams. They shouldn't be
Yeah,
public streamers. So
yeah, that's
too
right.
bad. If
Too bad
if
for
you
you
get
guys.
rated by 1 million people, yeah, and you become a 10,000 viewer streamer, then I don't know what you were doing if that's not what you wanted. So anyway, so welcome to our little circle. Come join us. Be part of our friends.
Yeah, be
Um,
our friends.
if we don't like you, we'll ban you, and that'll be that. Yeah, no, so I've been hanging around in I get a few new streams, not a bunch of them, but mostly one. Um, but it's another programmer or another person learning programming, studying programming, and learning Japanese. So, right, lots of overlap between those two. Um, and recently, so that streamer is a Crow VTuber named Crude Oil. Um, you know, like the material, like what you mine out of the ground and burn.
Yeah.
But yeah, recently through there we raided Basing's stream and we raided Kalaya's stream a couple times.
Nice.
And he and Wasif are huge buddies now. They get along so well. It's really interesting. So that circle has, like, those four are kind of the ones I bounce around between a lot in our old group.
Yeah. Nice.
But yeah, you've been gone for a while. Basing doesn't even make the joke about if one of us shows up, then the other person's going to show up shortly. Yeah, that joke stopped after like the third or fourth time I showed up, and it's like, oh, no kimomu. Can't say that anymore.
Oh man. Yeah, I haven't been active on Twitch like at all.
I know you abandoned us. I'm not bullying you right now. Yeah, this isn't bullying. I'm not trying to make you. I'm not trying to give you FOMO. Definitely not.
Definitely not. No, and I don't
Definitely
have FOMO
not.
either. Like I don't miss anyone.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah. You don't miss anyone. It's,
No.
yeah. Kimomu, who was that? It's we're fine.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys.
We're having so much fun.
Well, I'll have to come back and say hi one of these times.
If the spirit moves you. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like everyone is kind of on the same page though. It's like, like 2020 and 2021 were like a different time when like one of the only things to do was stream because you were inside all the time. So I think everyone used to stream a lot more, and now we are moving more in the direction of strangely like community, but like balancing out, I think, social connections. So like expanding them, finding the right level of like attention to give to like each person, and if it's too small for some people, it's like, well, like we still knew each other, but it's like you're gonna just have to be like more on like the acquaintance level because we're gonna grow apart a little bit, maybe not completely. I don't know. To me, I wonder if and you can bring up another topic, but to segue into this one about community a little bit, I wonder what you think about that. About for me, the vibe of the world right now is really focusing on like what is like the core unit of community going to be? Because we really went big global for a while. It's like you're an individual and you connect to like this very large, like at minimum, like the smallest connection that you make is at like this city level or like company, like huge multinational company level, like whatever company or city you're part of. You connect to that, and like whatever people you happen to cross paths with, those are the people in your community, but there's like millions of them, or thousands of them, at minimum, or it's even bigger, right? You just kind of live your life, do your own thing, and pay your bills, and then you kind of contribute your small little piece to the world, but you're just like a drop in the bucket. Like the next level up for you to focus on is like your nation, really, and then like what you should be doing to support that in how it fits in with other nations in the world. I feel like nationalism really got us for a while, and that has broken down for a few years, even before the pandemic. But I think the
Mm-hmm.
pandemic really cracked it open,
Oh yeah.
where it's right a lot of this division, like we don't know how to move forward together.
Yeah.
Um, so like, what's the unit of community that you're going to be part of now?
Mm.
Like, what's your tribe going to be? Like at the national level is too big.
Yeah.
It feels like it's really coming narrowing down.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that? It's we touched on that a little bit in with the quote that you shared that I wrote. But do you have more stuff to say about that? What do you think is the direction we're moving there? What's the what's the what's the theme or like the quality or like the vibe of community that you think is forming?
I definitely have something to say on that. I'm really glad you brought it up. I think it's something that I wonder about a lot, and I also wouldn't say that I am completely sure about the answer. And I think it's something kind of new to us in our current, what's the word? Like the era that we're in. Like
Yeah, it's a
for
new
the
thing forming. Like,
yeah, like for the
yeah.
past 100 years, this like whatever close community that we would have had has been degrading and deteriorating. Like who who knows all their neighbors?
Hmm.
That's part of it. And like I feel like we are coming to a time where people will value those connections a lot more and
Hmm.
value the connections that you have with anyone who's around you. Even like if it's like someone like your like raibaru, right? Your rival or whatever. Like
Hmm.
you appreciate that connection in your life. Like if that's the only person, like if that's the last person in the world, I don't know why I'm thinking that, but like if
Hmm.
that's the last person in the
Hmm.
world, you're going to get along with them and you're going to work together to survive together and help each other and support each other because that's who you have. Like this is our community, these are our people. Like
Hmm.
I think it's so important to recognize that like we're all humans and we all have like we have different experiences, but we all have the same needs. We all have uh, different experiences, but also similar experiences. So
Hmm.
I really think that, especially like with like what you said, how divisive it is right now. We need to see each other as humans first, and like doesn't matter what someone's opinion is. Like you can give someone the respect to hear their opinion,
Hmm.
whether you like it or not, and just like give them that space to voice what they feel. And if you have something
Hmm.
to say back, you can breathe and think about what you want to say and communicate your heart-centered feelings on the topic if it's different, if it's I mean, eventually you're going to find some kind of connection there. I feel like.
Yeah. No, I think you're right, and I think a lot of the issues with divisiveness and stuff that we want to see less of, like really bad things like people killing each other, is those things only happen when you like reduce the other person in your view to an object and
Yeah.
you stop relating to them as a human. Because
Yeah.
otherwise, it's I think it is naturally just too painful to engage with their experience of whatever you're inflicting on them, unless you are just like turning off the part of your brain that sees them as another human.
Mhm.
Then you can do whatever to them.
Yeah.
It could be amusing to you. It's like you won't feel anything, right? You just if they're not a human, then empathy turns off and you stop sharing in their experience. But generally, like people do better sharing their experiences together. It's just what feels really good is that connection.
Mhm.
Um, so I think, yeah, what you're saying, like, yeah, even if you don't agree, it's like I think you could get into a fight with another human, like in a weird way. That's kind of like a kind of connecting in an aggressive way or an oppositional way. So, or yeah, I guess in a kind of antagonistic way. I don't know. To me, there's these two words that keep popping up in my mind, and I don't think anyone necessarily handed them to me,
Hmm.
but maybe they did. To me, it's like an antagonistic posture or a cooperative posture.
Hmm.
And I don't know if I wrote that, but it's to me that's really what it is. So like when I'm really struggling with an interaction with someone, a lot of the time I'll realize it's because either sometimes they want to be cooperative, but there's something I don't like, so I'm being antagonistic, and sometimes it's
Hmm.
the other way around, right?
Hmm.
Trying to be like win-lose instead of win-win. Like, how can I find like the thing to exploit in this situation so I come out ahead? To me, it's
Right.
antagonistic.
Yeah.
Um, as opposed to it's like, okay, here's my energy, what's your energy, and what's around us, what can we create with all these things? To me, is cooperative. And you get a lot of really cool synergy and just a good
Mm-hmm.
experience, no matter what the outcome is, um, by being cooperative. And so it really annoys me when people are antagonistic. Um, but I guess that is a way of relating to people still. Anyway,
Mm.
so I think you can get into a fight with someone, but it's like it has a natural boundary on how far it's going to go, as long as you still see them as a human.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because like totally removing their influence will feel a little bit, I think not even repulsive, but just like anxiety inducing. It's like, whoa, whoa. But if I like totally remove this person from existence, that would be bad. Like the there's like opportunities that will disappear forever if this person disappears.
Yeah.
So if you still, I think if you still see other people as humans, then you're just kind of aware of that. And even if you get into kind of a serious fight with other people, like you'll naturally pull back before purposely like trying to eliminate them. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe that's too optimistic.
Uh, I don't know. See, I tend to be I tend to be very optimistic about the way I see
Hmm.
the world turning out. And okay, this might be a good time to show you my aura photo that I got done because I feel like
Yeah.
that plays into it. Like I tend to be and what this I talked to this lady about. She kind of like assessed it for me as well. And first she asked me what my sign was, and
Mm.
I told
Your
her, well, this
astrology sign.
yeah, and I told her, well, it's kind of complicated because like I always identified as Sagittarius, but now I look at my sign and it says my sun's in Capricorn because I'm on the cusp, and I was born in the evening, so it puts my sun in Capricorn. But she asked me like, what do you think you identify with more? And I was like, well, I'm used to being Sagittarius. Like I always felt like I was a Sagittarius, and a lot of people say that to me. So
Mm.
she kind of pointed out like the different aspects of my aura that bring out or that like represent each sign. She kind of mentioned more
Hmm.
Sagittarius at the to begin with because I've got like the like optimism, like what I was
Oh
just
yeah,
trying to
yeah,
say,
yeah.
like the optimistic view and philosophical, very much,
Hmm.
and like passionate about things. And okay, I'm gonna show you the picture. So
Yeah. Because that's very different between Sagittarius and Capricorn, right?
they're very different signs, yeah.
Yeah.
So first she pointed out the yellow, this like big yellow thing here.
Uh-huh.
And then there's some orange and red and indigo on the top. And she also pointed out these orbs that I have some spirit guides really close to me. Like five orbs
Mm.
there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So
Yeah.
these five spirit guides, they're
Like
really close to me all the time, and I
in in kind of like the lighter like white area between like that it's like blue, purple, and then goes back to orange. Are there like five little like whitish circles? Yeah, I
so
see them.
yeah, so those circles, yeah.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah.
and then the like yeah, the indigo above that. So on the back of it there's kind of a guide to what the colors mean. Yellow is confident, playful, and generous. Indigo is intuitive, thoughtful, and communicative. The orange is creative, expressive, productive, and red is grounded, stable, and passionate. So she was saying kind of like the red is like the Capricorn part of it.
Mm.
Because Capricorn also is an earth sign, so very grounded and like
Yeah.
present in the physical world. So yeah, that was really cool. But yeah, I feel like I don't know if this helped me a lot, but like it does kind of like confirm things for me and maybe makes it easier for me to articulate different aspects of myself.
Yeah, or yeah, I guess it gives you an idea of like you where you are in relation to those other concepts. Like how close or how far are those, or how do they relate to each other also.
Mm-hmm.
That's how
Yeah.
that stuff helps me anyway. I'm kind of projecting on you about that, but
I don't know. See, like I knew this thing existed and I figured like maybe I'll do it eventually, but like back like
hmm.
before when I didn't do it, I was like, "Oh, I don't really need that. Like it's whatever.
Yeah.
Just like a thing, like who cares?" But
Will you hold
sudden
it up again? Can I see it? Can
yeah.
I see it again?
Yeah.
Sorry, keep
Suddenly
going.
this person that I follow on Instagram shared him and his girlfriend's photos and I was like, I need to get that done cuz
Back it up a little bit.
he included that
Keep going.
person's like
Hmm.
interpretation of it. I know I got the light shining on it.
Have you seen? So you saw those other two people's. Are a lot of them like this rainbow spectrum, or like yours looks very orderly with like this yellowish kind of center, and then kind of goes out into red and seems like it wraps back around to purple and then back into indigo and blue, which it
Yeah.
follows like a pretty natural rainbow pattern. Do they all do that? Is that like what's common? Is there common
So
stuff between them, or are some of them orderly? Are some of them really chaotic, like spiky, or
so they're all pretty different and like different people can have different um auras at different times. Like I saw like in the shop
mm,
they had some examples too. Like there's like one girl, there are two different pictures of her. One was like completely red, and then there was another one that was like totally bluish purple and like no other colors.
okay, so it just happens that you have like a very orderly, balanced one.
I mean, I guess that's one way to look at it, but also like they can yeah, like can change like I said like so
Yeah.
if I were to go back like another time like after I changed some perspectives or something, I'm sure it'd be a lot different. Um,
Yeah.
in the other guy's picture that made me want to go do it, one of the things about his picture was that you could see his throat chakra and his heart chakra in the image. It was like a white orb in his
Oh, interesting.
photo, yeah. And his photo was like all purplish blue.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But
So,
then throughout, okay. So almost like a, because those two colors are different than purple and blue, right? Purple and blue are normally like forehead and crown, head and crown chakras, right?
mm-hmm.
So that's funny. It's like is it like all the energy is like contained in like those spots and the rest of it is like dispersed around them? I don't know. I'm making stuff up.
Well, there was another thing that she said in his reading that like since I can see these chakras, it usually means the energy your chakra energy is flowing enough from the lower chakras, which is where it would normally get blocked. That means like it's flowing. So
Mm-hmm.
so that was like a good sign that for like his energy flow, I
Mm-hmm.
guess. If
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Really cool concept. I like it. I liked having it done. It's fun.
Mm-hmm. Did anyone have a any green in theirs? Have you seen one with green?
Yeah. This
I don't,
guy's
I don't
girlfriend
think I
had a
saw
little
any
bit of
green.
green.
Okay.
Green is. Oh, I'll tell you what all the colors mean. I can. So green is
Yeah.
balance, loving, and harmonious.
Mm.
So I guess that would be like an open heart chakra, right?
Oh yeah, is green heart chakra?
Mm-hmm.
What was the yellow one again? What was the description for yellow?
Confident, playful, and generous, and that's the solar plexus chakra. So that kind
Mm.
of means like what she told me about that was like you're confident, you're expressive, like you have direction and you know. It's kind of like what you're saying like about like having and
Yeah.
being intentful. So
Yeah.
that made me think of that too when you said that.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm really obsessed with like that concept of yellow right now.
Oh,
I feel like I have an eye out all the time for like bright like yellow things, how I can like wear more yellow and stuff like that.
oh,
I
nice,
really want to bring more energy of that energy in.
nice.
And I can't tell how much I express that energy on my own, or I don't I don't know that I really identify with like that stuff, even though I find it pretty important.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I don't know.
I'm obsessed with the whole chakra system. Honestly, that
Mm,
I would say that was probably my main motivation for like, well, part of a big part of my motivation for like wanting to paint rainbows because it kind of symbolizes the chakra system and yeah, I just get that vibe from it and like also like the frequencies. So that was a big reason why I wanted to
mm,
do rainbows last year. And yeah, I really do feel like when you're working through a certain chakra point, I feel like you are attracted to that color. So you probably are working through like your solar plexus chakra, or working on some aspect of like energy flow in that area.
yeah, that makes sense.
Mm.
Yeah, stuff has been popping up for me on. I've been on Instagram a little bit more, so on Instagram, but also a little bit on Twitter. It started on Twitter first. A lot of stuff about um, not just the vagus nerve, but a lot of it recently has been about the vagus nerve and how it runs like, yeah, starts like up around here, but then like kind of runs down your chest a little bit, and like a bunch of nerves, including that one, collect like around like close to your solar plexus.
Hmm.
So that's just one of the things that's been kind of rattling around in the back of my head. Not really know what to do with that information yet,
Mm-hmm.
but, or how I'm going to incorporate it right into my life. Like the videos on it are prescriptive enough, like it's like, oh, massage this or that, or do these sets of exercises. Like, yeah, that's cool. I'm probably not gonna do those though. Um,
Yeah, right, yeah. Or like,
yeah, it's like I'll try those.
someday when I am not doing anything else and I'm really bored, maybe
Yeah,
it'll come up, right?
yeah, or it's like I'll try those a little bit just to see if like I'm gonna hang on to this thought, but like I'm not like this thought is not, or that activity is not absorbing into my life right now on its own. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I'm like that with a lot of things. Like when I find out about things like cuz I'm constantly taking in content and looking for stuff and learning and um yeah, there's just so much to remember, like try to focus on and like, oh yeah, I want to try that someday. But
hmm.
it's like, maybe eventually it'll come up again, but that again, I kind of leave up to spirit. I'm like, if it's meant to come up, then yeah, I know it'll come up for me again at the right time.
I was writing things down a little bit more, like almost journaling, like more like in 2019. I guess it was in 2019. I gave like journaling for like 20 or 30 minutes in the morning, like a little bit of a stab.
Hmm.
And that continued into like a bit of 2020 and 2021. And I realized something when I came across some of those notes again. Um, I forget how long, I think it was like back in 2021 and 2022, I read something from one of those old notes, and it's like, oh, this must be recent because I've been thinking about this stuff. And it was from like 2 years ago, like literally how I would word it, like that that same day when I was reading it, it's like, okay, I don't have to be like hanging on to like the idea of like I might forget this stuff. It's
Yeah.
like for like years, this stuff is like coming up in my mind in like exactly the same way. Like, okay, I can chill out about this a little bit.
Yeah. That's a huge part of becoming spiritually aware, I think. You just like, yeah, they'll come back. And it's like you said, it's a field, right? Well, we didn't really talk about this, but like I think that the brain is actually an antenna and our consciousness is in the field, and that's how we access like different
Hmm.
levels of consciousness. Like of course our brain is like a really very complex mechanism. But yeah, I think that like the main thing is that it's an antenna and we connect to higher consciousness. That's how
Hmm.
we can access like different levels of information at different times when we are very in tune or like open to that. And things will come back around. And I
Yeah.
think that's how people get inspired too. Sometimes like when people get ideas for like a song or something or like a movie, I think it comes from the field.
Hmm. Yeah, I think so. Okay, I wanted to get more thoughts from you about the idea of community, but
Mm.
sounds like you're going in the direction of spirit and field a little bit more. Do you have more to say about that stuff? Or can I get some more thoughts from you about community?
We can go to community. Yeah.
Okay, because I think we both always are going to have a lot of stuff to say about the community topic, so it's safe to like circle back to that one later, like all the time.
Yeah. Well, either way.
Um, so I had a couple questions for you about that.
All right.
Um, first, first one is it should be the second one, so I'm gonna start with the second one. Oh well. Um, what's how many episodes have you pre-recorded so far? You can edit this part out
Okay.
if it's like well so this shouldn't really be part of the episode.
Mm.
I'm kind of curious. I've
Yeah.
avoided asking you how many. It sounds like you've recorded a few.
Yes.
Are you like building? Are you building them up? Are you like getting a what do they call it, backlog or a
Yes. I'm batching them. I think
yeah 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 yeah.
I've got 6 or 7. Think
Six
so.
or seven? That's
Yeah.
so
I think I got
good. That's
7.
so
Yeah.
good.
Crazy. Yeah, and so you were the only last one that I had scheduled so far. I have like a wish list of
Hmm.
people that I want to have on. There's some who I have contacted and they either said no or not right now or like they're eventually planning to get back to me. So
Hmm.
I kind of have like a list of people who I figure like when the time is right, it'll happen.
Yeah.
Um,
Follow up with again.
mhm. And then I have like a wish list of like more like well-known people that I'd love to meet and talk to and interview. So
Okay. Okay. Oh, that's exciting.
yeah.
Okay, so you are grinding on it. That's what I
Mhm.
thought
Oh yeah,
because
I'm
like aren't
grinding.
you
Yeah.
week? Yeah, like weeks or months ago you were talking about it. It's like I'm sitting here. It's like when is this gonna happen? Like actually, I don't like listening to super long podcasts.
Yeah.
But for the right one, I'll grind through it, or like I'll sample a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know. You might buck the trend. If it's a nice flowing conversation about something I'm at least vaguely interested in, then I'll start listening and go. I'll listen for 5 more minutes and do that 10 times, or 30 times. So it's I'll get sucked into longer things that way, but it doesn't usually happen. So,
Mm.
but yeah, so I've been waiting for this, and then you're like, "Do you want to come on?" And it's like, wait, I better not be the first person you're interviewing. I've been waiting this whole time, thinking you were grinding through, and there's no
Oh my
backlog.
god.
Like, I do not want to wait 6 more months for the Kimomu
Oh yeah.
podcast.
Oh. Well, I mean, I'm glad that you're excited about it. That makes me really happy. But yeah, no, like I said in my stream, like I'm kind of trying to hold myself to this premiere date. I really want to have it out this summer. That's my plan.
Oh
But
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right. July 1st.
yeah,
It's
but I want
Yeah,
to
July
have.
1st. You promised.
I promised. I promised. So I at
I don't know if you
least,
did promise, but I'm rewriting history. You promised.
I mean, you can go back and change history. It depends. You just have to be like, you're on a new timeline then. I'm
I'm
like
I'm
taking in so much
I'm
weird shit now. It's
attracting
crazy.
I'm attracting you. No, that made sense to me, but
Hmm.
that's not concrete enough. I'm attracting you, finishing it and releasing on July 1st.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
With your support and your vision, we can manifest it. Yeah. That's what, there's so many sayings that I can't think of, but like, yeah, when you share your vision with someone else, like, that empowers it, like, immensely. So,
Do you
there's
know do you know the writer Barbara Sher?
Barbara Sher.
Sher, Sher.
No, I don't think so.
Hmm. Hmm. She's written some stuff, and one of her quotes is a bit like that. I don't know exactly what it is. I got it written down on the papers.
Hmm. There's another person I just thought of too when I was saying that. Have you ever heard of Florence Scovel Shinn? I might have mentioned her.
I don't
She's
think so. What's the last name again? Lawrence what?
Florence Scovel Shinn. She's kind of like
Lawrence.
one of these old from the 20s and 30s. This lady who was very into like
Yeah,
metaphysical
yeah.
teachings and stuff. You know, like an Alan Watts kind of person.
Is it more? Oh, just general metaphysics? Because have you heard of? I think I asked you this already, and you said no, but I'm going to ask again for the benefit of chat and the audience. Um, have you heard of Napoleon Hill?
Yes, yes, I have
Okay,
his
yeah.
book.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, that's
That
right. Maybe you said you were going to get his book. Think and
that
Grow
book
Rich
is
or a different one?
Think and Grow Rich, and yeah, that book is what is part of what inspired Abraham Hicks to come about. So
Oh, okay.
that's how
So
I
you
heard
read that one
about, or
first.
that's how I first heard about
Yeah.
that book.
Does he mention Abraham Hicks?
Napoleon Hill, or
Yeah.
no, because
Yeah,
he's
Napoleon Hill.
before
Yeah,
before
yeah,
their
yeah.
time, yeah. Oh, but like he talks a little bit about energy
Oh.
and stuff, I think. So like Abraham.
Yeah, no, Napoleon Hill is very law of attraction.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Like manifesting, like I don't know if he uses the word manifesting. Man, people in the 20s, like the early 1900s,
They're really
were
getting
so
into it.
woo-woo, but they were so serious about it. It's like, no, it's real, man. It's a science. Science is going to prove this stuff one day. We're just starting to discover it. And then,
Yeah.
boy, did we take a turn to be like, no, man, that's bullshit.
Yeah. Well, for many reasons that are
Yeah,
greater than we
hard to
can
measure,
perceive,
mostly,
probably.
but
Yeah.
yeah, no, it was wild. People used to really believe that stuff, like hardcore.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I mean, it makes sense because it takes you from being in a powerless state to, oh, I have all the power I need in my life. Like, this is all up to me.
I guess so, but like especially in Think and Grow Rich, like that guy whips out examples, which I heard like some of them are like a little fake or exaggerated, but it's like
Hmm.
he's not describing them like he doesn't believe in them. Like he's that's I guess what stands out to me about people who wrote from that time is that they expect to find concrete examples, like real examples of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So is some of it maybe like a little stretch? Well, yeah, but they're also explaining something that isn't purely concrete, so it's you have to read in between the lines a little bit. I have
Yeah.
a book about dowsing too. Oh yeah, we talked about this, the divining line. I have a
Yeah.
book about that too. And it was a guy exploring with uh, another guy who was really good at water dowsing, exploring the extent to like what the extents of that ability were and like how far it could go.
Mm-hmm.
And they expected it to turn into a science or to eventually have some explanation in physics. Like they expected it to be basically like electricity or magnetism.
Mm. So,
That stuff is wild to me.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, I talked over you a little bit. I get
Oh,
so excited talking about this stuff.
that's okay. No, like this is my favorite thing about having this show is that like I can have a guest on and we can just like nerd out about whatever we want to talk about. So I love that.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I'm surprised I forgot about that because you got that section like what could we nerd out about? Definitely like
Yeah.
law of attraction and like divining rod stuff. Man,
Yeah.
I want to learn how to do that. I bet I could learn how to water
Mm.
dowse.
You know what? That I feel like that kind of brings me a little bit to another question I want to ask you.
Hmm.
So, in your answers, you mentioned uh, naturalism. You said
Hmm.
naturalism and foraging books are they light up a part of your heart, um, and feeling like about feeling naturally more ourselves and empowered to follow our personal instincts is part of the gate from the self to the collective conscious. So if you want to
Hmm.
explain that a little bit, and then also I want to ask you, what is naturalism, or what do you define naturalism as?
Yeah, so I'll explain the thing about the so I think about the collective conscious thing is more about like just connecting with the world. It's like especially like working the 9 to 5, I'll harp on that a little bit more. It's like turning away, like being disciplined and like ignoring like these other things trying to pull your attention away. Um, yeah, maybe some of those are just distractions, but maybe some of those are just your natural interests, like trying to alert you. It's like there's something that is really good for you over here, or that you could
Yeah.
explore, or you don't know yet, but that's really related to your. You feel like you're being pulled in four different directions, but they're all just pointers to help you connect to like one singular thing that's really important to you right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is the mode of kind of like wandering and exploring. Going is like, okay, I'm kind of like getting a vibe from a few different things. I'm gonna hit that spot first, and then if I still feel the pull over there, then I'll go explore those other things. I think
Mm.
it's like a very like hunter-gatherer kind of thing.
Hmm.
Um, and it makes you feel more connected because you go right just to the natural flow of things because you go around, you get these experiences, and you sort of understand what's going on in the world. So rather than saying connecting like the gateway to the collective unconscious, which maybe you're not as aware of, it's just, you're on the same wavelength in the back of your head with other people. It's like, no, everyone else walking around in the same area saying the same things, you're going to have, you're going to be able to speak about similar experiences. Like, oh yeah, I was walking through the forest or down whatever road the other day, and I noticed that there was, I don't know, this tree that fell down, or it blocked the road, or in the middle of the forest, and it took out these two other trees. And what a bummer because I was going to go harvest this or that other thing. And if you relate that experience to someone else who was also walking around, they'll go, "Oh yeah, what a bummer! I saw that. I was going to go look for something else though." And you kind of get like this back
Mm.
and forth, a similar topic to talk about. Um, so, and then that's just a different level of interaction, right? You're talking about this. You're having an experience sharing these experiences. So it creates those layers again. Um, so just
Mm-hmm.
like going out this naturalism, connecting to the natural flows, it gets you back into connection with the larger that microcosm macrocosm again. Rather than when you're going against the flow so much, it's like rather than being right, part of that flow, it's like you're kind of going like through it briefly, but like past it, just like in a different direction. It just like
Yeah.
doesn't like you can't absorb it just because it's at the wrong angle. Um,
Yeah.
so so that's kind of what I meant. Like connecting all the things are connected when you start engaging with one part of it, it sucks you into engaging with or being connected to all the parts again.
Mm.
Right? Maybe not all at once, but at least you'll kind of I think move through directly experiencing all the different pieces of those things that are together. And that kind of goes back to community too, I guess.
Yeah. It
Um,
definitely. Sorry. Go ahead.
yeah. So that was the gateway thing in naturalism. You want, I guess I kind of answered what I meant by naturalism, but I have another thing to say about that. So fortunately, I already kind of got to talk earlier about um, like my experiences and ideas, like my thoughts about engineering and the natural environment and the built environment, and the idea of sustainability. It's like resources have to come from somewhere. So I said naturalism, and in terms of like herbalism and mushrooms and foraging, yeah, that's very much like nature focused, so that's what I guess would say is naturalism means. But I use the word naturalism because I think most people will understand what I mean by that.
Mm-hmm.
When like 50% or so, I really wanted to say like sustainability and finding that synergy between the urban environment and the natural
Mm-hmm.
environment, which are not so separate. Um, but the best word for that, I think the word that most people use is like sustainability or yeah. So basically, I wanted to say something else, but naturalism was was the word that was going to make it come out the best.
Mm-hmm.
And I did also want to talk about that, but a lot of the what I meant was like connecting to nature and like uniting like the natural environment and our like more modern and built environment, which
Mm-hmm.
we've worked very hard to keep separated. So like re-engaging that other part, I think integrates you back into the natural flow of things. So whereas I guess naturalism is really like moving out of the urban environment, like back into the natural environment, like kind of on its own.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I meant what I want to say is like connecting the two again.
Gotcha. So so what do you think? Like, how do you see that playing out if we were to like consciously be on the same page about integrating like that? How would you see that playing out in an ideal way?
Yeah. So I think the first thing you have to ask is why are they separated? Like, what's the purpose? What do we accomplish? Do we accomplish something by separating them? I would say yes.
Mm.
Um, I don't know. Do you have a thought about that?
Um.
I'm kind of curious where you stand on those thoughts. If you don't really, then that's fine. I'll just go
Mm.
on. I'll go into lecture mode. I'm just wondering if you do.
Um. I guess no. I guess I'd rather hear you talk more about it.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's fine. It's yeah. That answers my question. Um, to me, it's the concept that pops up. Like, what's the thing that moved us into that mode of separation is industrialism,
Mm-hmm.
right? Really, yeah. And the focus on productivity and economic growth,
Yeah.
because feeding that constant growth is why you have to always be either finding new resources or finding ways to recharge the ones that you already have.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're willing to, boom and bust a little bit, then you can just go with the flow of things. The earth rejuvenates itself. I mean, even that's kind of a dumb way to say it. It's like there are many organisms
Oh, I think
that
that's a
each
great
take a
word.
different input. It is, but it's so vague. It makes it sound like it just happens automatically and like nothing has to make it happen. It's like, no, there's a million pieces actively making it happen,
Yeah.
and each one does a specific thing. So
Definitely.
it's, yeah, so the when you take a resource or some energy and you spend it and you don't know what to do with the output, you call it waste. Well, there's a million different things you can do with that, or that something can do with that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like plastics are going to be a big one. Right now, like we're putting so many plastics in our environment, it's toxic to us. Um, that's actually a really normal thing to happen in nature. It happens all the time. One organism starts overproducing something. If there's not another organism that starts using its output, then that stuff will build up. And either, I mean, a lot of the time, the original one just has to chill out because it makes its environment a little bit toxic to itself and maybe to a bunch of other organisms too. But I don't know, sucks to suck. It just happens.
Yeah.
And so it's like, obviously, as the ones doing it to ourselves, we have a strong motivation to figure out how to cut that shit out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and as bad as it is that all these other, things on the planet are suffering because of us, it's kind of how organisms work. It's how the natural cycles work.
Mm-hmm.
What seems unique is our ability to look ahead far enough to find new creative ways to use new resources and just keep on the same treadmill rather than being forced to accept as early as right a bit earlier that we're just going to have to chill out and stop achieving in the same way as we were before. But no, it seems we've got enough tools that it's like no, just keep growing the economy. Find a
Mm-hmm.
new resource, create new technology, and yeah, we'll just keep doing it and just keep using resources. So it's that industrial push, right? And really this technology or the ability to make new technologies that lets us keep pursuing that same angle and making the consequences more and more extreme, pushing back, trying to put things back into balance, because it is away from a natural sense of balance. Uh, what was I talking about? Industrialism, the why nature and the built environment are separated, right? So it makes sense to separate these things, to specialize them, right? To make them as productive as possible in just one really specific way, um, rather than and be like really specialized rather than like generalist, right? Generalist, you involve a lot of different things and you can create like a more sustainable bit, but the power or energy available to each part of it is usually diminished because it's being shared or right passed around the different parts of the system.
Mm-hmm.
Um, did you ask another question before that? That's why I
Uh,
think so. What's the advantage between recombining them?
yeah. And how do
I
you
think
see
is
that
what it
playing
was.
out
Yeah.
in an ideal
So
way?
yeah, I mean, so that I don't if it's for the natural environment, I think you look at like suburbs or even past suburbs. There's way out from the city, there's agricultural areas, right? Or natural resource areas like forests, streams, all these other things
Mm-hmm.
where animals can still live, all that stuff. Um, those are resources that you could use, and people who live more of like a farm lifestyle, or even farms are too industrialized almost to integrate with that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because it's supposed to be one person, right, or a really small handful of people controlling like hundreds of acres of something, right? So it's still on at that scale because there's smaller farms. At that scale, it's still not very personal.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's done so that you can have a large workforce of technical workers who don't have to connect with the land. Okay, so how I see it playing out is reducing the scale, right? Rather than on the scale of like hundreds of miles, right? Cities and hinterlands, it's like how can you really decide even within a city, can there be like little pockets of agriculture or where you at least supplement like fresher things? I think
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people have, for a while, like decades ago, have experimented with this idea a little bit, especially like the permaculture people, right? I don't know how
Mm-hmm.
much you've read about permaculture. Um, but the idea of, yeah, a lot of layers of organisms, right? Or like food forests is a concept also
Mm,
heavily
yeah.
related to permaculture. I don't know if it's from it, um, but where there's a lot of layers of organisms all interacting very densely, right? Rather than having to keep them separated and everyone has like their own tidy little space. It's like, no, if you get the right interactions and synergies, you can pack this stuff and make it really dense. So it's really compatible, I think, with some of it being in the city and being able to
Mm-hmm.
break up the monotony and introducing more just areas for relaxation or connecting, introducing more oxygen, reducing the amount of heat in the city,
Yeah.
not just through shade, but also through um, organisms that use heat to power their metabolism. Sometimes that will release more heat, but it could also, like in the case of plants, cause them to, like part of photosynthesis is releasing water from the leaves, and that's why you have to keep watering the plants because as part of generating their energy, they're releasing water.
Mm-hmm.
Um, well, if you've got a bit of a breeze, that becomes a way for energy to go into the plant and then go into the air and keep flowing around.
Mm.
So you that's how I see that this stuff being integrated, introducing more green stuff, getting microbes and plants to do some of the work that we use machines and electricity to do. Maybe a little bit to offset like the amount of heating and cooling required, because those organisms have ways of heating and cooling themselves. Um, or a really weird idea would be, what if you made a style of building with this more enclosed like central bit, um, where you composted. So like let's say you had an apartment building and this big kind of enclosed bit in the middle, separated from the other units, right? And everyone's food trash or waste went into this container or this pit or whatever. You'd have to decide what it would be.
Mm-hmm.
That would create, well, I mean, it's composting, so it'll unlock nutrients from that stuff that you can't use anymore. You know, your banana peels, your vegetable shavings, and you don't have to really, or just the food that you couldn't eat, you know, because it was going to mold. It's like, yeah, you have to worry about like what the mix of stuff is going to be, and you can't, especially for like an apartment, like for hundreds of units, you have to be really conscious about controlling the flow of matter and energy into that. But I think you could design it. People who say stuff like
Mm.
that is intractable, it's like, well, yeah, right now, because we didn't figure out how it would all work,
Right.
but that generates nutrients that you could then, right, take out as fertilizer,
Yeah.
and put back into your garden or export,
Mm-hmm.
and it generates a lot of heat. So
Mm.
I think if you were really smart about it, then um, that could be part of like a water heating thing. It's like we've got this constant source of
Wow.
heat going,
Yeah.
and if you can control, if it's insulated from the dwellings, you can control how much of it is just being released into the environment, or how exposed to the weather, heat, or cold from the environment it is to regulate its temperature, and and how much you can allow that heat to, right, be transferred to water or whatever else. So, and that's just an example of microbes, like microbial action generating heat, in and cleverly taking advantage of that, as opposed to having to use electricity to generate it. And there's a motivation to figure it out, because you can dump your waste into a managed area and get your waste from food or something else to create a new energy source for you. So you unlocked energy by eating something or harvesting food, and then you threw it away and created energy again, or something else created energy. It's just a lost opportunity. Why don't people
Yeah.
do that shit?
Yeah. Yeah. That's such a like. I mean, it feels like this is one of the things that we're gonna look back like 100 years from now and be like, the hell were we wasting all this like
Yeah.
potential and stuff? So yeah, no, I think that's like an awesome idea. It wasn't really you. I didn't know what I expected you to say, but yeah, that was like. I mean, that's definitely like one cool way to like
Yeah.
integrate and stuff and make things more useful for us. I mean, actually, it makes me think too of like how the Japanese dispose of their waste. How they have to organize everything that they throw out, and there's like different containers or different ways for every different type of thing that they use.
Hmm.
So, I mean, they have worked out a system that I think works really well for them. I don't
Yeah,
know
or
if
at
it's.
least they've made a step to it. It sounds
Hmm.
like they have a big problem with that, and so it's like
Oh.
any step they take to fixing it, right? Like the overcrowding problem too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, it sounds like they work so hard innovating on this stuff, because if they don't, like, it is like constantly knocking on their door, like going
Mm.
to like shut their society down if they don't address it. So,
Wow. Well then.
but yeah, I mean, to their credit, they're figuring it out. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, sure, it's because they have to, but yeah, so it's, I guess I just want to highlight that in the example I gave, that's one really specific one. It doesn't have to be that, but there's we don't get that synergy because we're ignoring microbial action, right? Microbes bad, keep everything sterile. Those are agents doing their own thing, and we don't have time to pay attention to this new thing because the track that we're currently on is working, so we'll ignore it. So I think that's what reintegrating with the natural environment is
Mm.
about. Like there's other organisms that play these different roles, and if you become more aware of those and give people more time to study them and become familiar with them, then you can innovate new things. Um, but right now we don't have that time. We're over specialized, and that's the industrialism again, creating that separation, narrow roles, and less space to reconnect.
Mm-hmm. One of the things I wanted to touch on, add on to that, was like, um, I think it would, I think this is part where like it would help for us to be like more involved in our immediate community, because
Hmm.
then like not just that we can help each other out, but if like if somebody has a trade and like you have another trade, oh, it's kind of like one of the other things that you were talking about, like having skills and like off like being really good at your own skill and offering that as like that's what you give to the world, and like that's
Oh yeah, one
I
of the other responses. It's like whatever you're
mm-hmm.
interested in, just get really good at it because that's you're gonna stick with it, and once you're really good at something, someone probably needs it. So
Exactly. So like in the community there's all kinds of different people with all kinds of different passions and things they care about, or just like things that even like things that they have that they don't need, that they've accumulated, they just like I feel like everybody, if you like work with your community, I feel like you can like work a lot of things out just by like talking and like voicing your needs and voicing your skills and like how you want to fit
yeah.
in and help, and how you can fit in even like with voicing your needs, and you'll find what you
Hmm.
need by like everybody appreciating each other and caring for each other.
Well, yeah, because if you're involved in your community and just talking about like stuff you're doing, it's like, oh yeah, I've been looking into this or that, or it's like I got a cool, someone gave me a cool new this or that, or I started collecting these widgets, but I don't know what to do with them.
Mm.
Um, like you just chat about people chatting, you figure out what other people have and what they need, and you get to talk about what you have and what you need. It's like, oh, this thing that you said you need, I got a bunch of that. Or so and so was just saying that they have a bunch of that. And the only reason I know that is because we're a bunch of chatty Cathy's with each other like half the time. Like we're just talking about nonsense stuff that we don't know if it's going to be useful. It's like, oh, actually, yeah, I kind of need to know about other people. That's handy
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
to know what's going on with other people.
Yeah, and that's part of it. Part of that too is that like when you're in touch with your own center and your guidance, you are guided naturally into situations where you're going to be given exactly what you need, or you'll be given an opportunity to give something that you don't need. Like I feel like
Yeah.
it's as simple as that, honestly, in some ways. As long as we can like line up with what we're naturally supposed to be doing, I feel like. And
Yeah,
another
I think people don't appreciate the being in a situation where you can give away something enough.
yeah.
Like I don't know if you've been clearing stuff out of your place going through your spiritual process, but like the last several months I've needed to get rid of a bunch of electronics, and it's been a bit of a process like emotionally letting go. It's like I'm not going to use this stuff.
Yeah.
I don't even really need to like I don't need to hold on to it. It's like if I'm holding on to it, it's because I want to know like what like I spent energy acquiring it and now I want to like maybe get something back or know that
Mm.
I'm having it in a certain way, giving it away. Um, but I'm not used to talking with people who might need it. Like I've got like four keyboards right now because two of them are old and I didn't throw them away. And one of them was one that a friend recommended, so it's like I'll try that. And then two more, so I've got five actually, or six. I've got six keyboards. I
Wow.
don't need six keyboards. I need like maybe two.
Mm-hmm.
And three, like one is a backup. Okay, fine, but I don't need six. Um, but it feels bad throwing it away because I know it's just going to go in the landfill, and it's like oh,
Yeah.
plastic waste and electronic waste. It's like that feels really
Uh-huh.
bad, and they're still usable. I just don't need them. It's like, but like, how do I even donate them? It's like it's a whole task for me. Like it's a burden for me to figure out how to get rid of them. Like I can't get rid of them, but I don't want them anymore. Like,
Mm-hmm.
how do I get rid of things? I don't want these.
Yeah. That's a thing for sure. But yeah, it's like I feel like so many things would be easier and solved with just being involved in the local community. And and another thing I wanted to touch on with that too is like if we can source as many things as possible locally without
Hmm.
like importing so many things. In fact, like I feel like as humans, like in our vicinity, like we're naturally um, meant to like live off of like local like
Yeah.
foraging. I don't know what the word I'm trying to think of is. Like I
Or
want to
just
say
local
produce, but
production,
that's not
just
right.
yeah, produce products
Crops.
like what's around, yeah, crops,
Mm.
or if there's something that's missing, then start cultivating it. I don't know, introduce it. I don't know, there's a way
Yeah.
to do that.
Yeah. Yep. So I mean, we can work it out. Whatever happens. Like either way, I feel like yeah, local communities are that's the future, man.
Hmm. Well, and so there's another thing I think people are waking up to, um, that is a product of like the internet finally like wrapping around and doing the thing that it's meant to, which is kind of about like how you see those videos about like people, influencers or actual people like wanting to homestead or like
Mm.
do things the hard way even if it's inefficient, and it's like, well, that's not really why we have specialization. Um, but if there's someone near you like producing something, right, even if it's not like the relative advantage of your community, you might want to do a little bit of it just to know what the challenges are, because
Mm.
then you can distinguish like if you're going to import it from somewhere else and you've got a few options,
Mm-hmm.
like you'll have some idea of how to evaluate those options.
Mm.
Whereas if you do none of it at all, no one will have any idea, like all the specialists outside of your community who naturally will not have your interests in mind at all, or
Exactly.
won't won't know your community well enough actually to know what your specific needs or interests are. You can't represent those yourself if you don't have like some knowledge of like how are the things that I'm asking for made, or like how do those come into existence? Like how would
Mm-hmm.
I do them so that I can evaluate like how someone else has produced it, like or their product.
Yeah.
So I think it is important to always like have someone around in your community who has some experience making a bit of everything, even if it's not the most efficient way to use like those resources. It's like
Mm.
it pays it back in terms of like personal knowledge, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. So I really like the yeah. I love the idea of like homesteading, people doing that homesteading kind of thing, and for a little
Hmm.
bit, like before I decided on doing this podcast, I was thinking about trying to do some kind of like content focused on that, on like learning how to
Hmm.
homestead, because I thought like this is going to be very important in the coming years. Because like, how do we know? We don't know what's going to happen. Like,
Yeah,
what if
yeah.
something crazy happens? What if like the whole grid goes down and we can't go back up for some reason? Like,
Hmm.
how do we know what's going to happen? Like, we're going to need to know how to sustain ourselves if we can't see the rest of the world with the internet or with power or anything,
Yeah.
because
No, you're right.
we're so
Because right
dependent
now,
on these technologies. It's like a
yeah,
crutch.
well, and we're dependent on other people like grocery stores, right? If the grid goes down, someone else is deciding to send food to a local grocery store, and they're profiting off of it, so they keep doing it. But the people running the grocery store next to you could try to connect with whatever central hub and ask for stuff. But if
Mm.
the grid is down and central hub doesn't have means or desire to send it, then the people at your grocery store running it are just as screwed as you are. Like they don't have any power to make it happen. They just facilitate this resource being sent in. So it's
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the over specialization, right? Centralization far away from your community. You've got no power over how to ask or negotiate to bring that resource back in if it gets interrupted, even if the other people want to keep sending it to you. Like we saw all those shipping problems, right? More in like 2021, I think. It
Mm-hmm.
got shut down. So you've got people with stuff that they want to send, and people giving orders, they want to receive stuff, but there's a shipping backup. right at the port, or something blocks a canal, and it's like, well, everyone wants this stuff to happen, and now it just can't because something bad happened. What are you gonna do? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Just eat it, I guess. Like, that's the
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the times people scoff at like preppers, right? Because like
Mm-hmm.
they think that, I don't know, people think that it's like so unrealistic, but like it's like I said, you just know, you don't know what's going to happen, and I don't think a lot of people, like those people who scoff, I don't think they really stop and think about and realize how dependent they are on
Yeah, they're not
technologies that
thinking. Yeah,
keep us keep us sustained.
yeah. I think it's the part of that reaction that we were talking about again. Right? They see the preppers and gives them the reaction. It's like, ooh, I wasn't thinking about that, and that's kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And if I stop to think about it, then that's going to interrupt how I'm kind of doing things right now. So could I not think about that? You know what? I
Yeah.
just came up with the answer. You're an idiot. You're preppers, dummies. I don't have to think about that.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't want to be uncomfortable, so I'm just gonna. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. It's like, let me think really quick. Like, is there a way that actually you're an idiot? I could think of, yeah. Here we go. Yeah, actually, you're dumb. I don't
yeah.
need to prep. Yeah.
Exactly. Oh my god. How? Oh my god. Yeah. I feel like that happens all the time, especially when people are not conscious. They're just like kind of
Yeah.
a product of the zeitgeist. But like, you know, everybody's on their different level. I don't have like there's no shame. I don't want to like shame anyone for like not like you know having their own thought process and like going
Well,
through
I
that
mean,
because everybody has that.
it's the same ego protection mechanism we were talking about earlier. Everyone does it, so it
Mm,
manifests in one area or another. But brains be braining, they all do it.
exactly.
So
Yeah.
that's why it's important to view other people as humans, because when someone starts spiraling like that, you can just go, "That's so understandable. You seem let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
Like you seem really worried."
Mhm.
Or I don't know what like whatever they need to hear. It's like you don't have to react to that. It's okay. Like, and I know that because the weird thing you're freaking out about doesn't freak me out. So if it makes you more comfortable, I'll handle that and explain it or whatever.
Yeah.
And you can just go do what you're good at.
Yeah. That's so great. Even just to like open up a conversation and be like, I am willing to address this. If it makes you uncomfortable, like, okay, we don't have to talk about it, but I'm just gonna say what I am feeling about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like assess this. But like, yeah, at least like you can open up the conversation from your side. I like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I think it puts people back into a balanced state really quickly if you open up the conversation by pointing out it's like, oh yeah, that's a very like human reaction, or that's a very understandable reaction. You want to talk about that a little bit. Um,
Mm,
and then right, like it just all comes out, and I think a lot of the time people start hearing themselves talking about it, and they'll go, it's like, okay, I'm getting a little crazy here. It's like, and I can relax because you're being nice to me. It's like
yeah.
you're gonna let me say as much as I want. It's like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, but yeah, that's part of it, right? Making people feel like comfortable and
Mm-hmm.
mm, not not feel like they have to be afraid or something.
Yeah, or it's like, yeah, you don't have to justify yourself to me. Like, I'm not even worried about your reaction.
Yeah.
Like, kind of means nothing to me.
Yeah.
Like, but it means something to you, and I'm concerned about that. So
Mm.
it's, yeah, I guess just don't, a lot of the conflict resolutions just don't give the other person an extra reason to be tense.
Yeah.
Where are some of your other notes, even the ones where it's like we probably talked about that already? Are you willing to read some of them?
Well, actually,
It looks like you're scanning them and skipping over some.
well, a lot of it is like it's stuff that we kind of already talked about, and I just
Uh,
copied from the email you sent me. I kind of just copied
okay.
your responses and put them into my notes. Um,
Do you have some favorite ones though that you want to read anyway? Because we, so yeah, like if it's just us chatting, then we don't need to repeat it because we both know what I said. but everyone watching doesn't know what it was.
True. That's true. Um,
If it were me listening, I'd be like, read it. I want to know like, what are you reading that I don't get to read? I'd have FOMO
yeah.
about like this. Like, I
Oh
want
my
to see the data.
god.
Like, what are you reading? What are you reading?
I promise I'll read all of it, okay? I just want to choose which one I gotta read first. um, okay, this is one question I wrote this morning, I think. So, you seem to be on the same page with the way I see society ideally functioning. Do you think more people
Mm,
are starting to think this way? And how do you see the concept of gift economy playing out realistically? Have you heard of the concept of gift economy by Charles
mm-hmm.
Eisenstein? Yeah.
Is that Charles Eisenstein? I mean, I've heard of the concept.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, he talks about it. I don't know if it was originally his concept, but I've heard it from him.
Yeah, I guess that's interesting. So, like, there is something to add there. It's like, why would you give something away for free? If it costs you less than holding on to it, you'd give it away, right? Like my
Yeah.
keyboards, I don't want it, like, those take up space. So, as if
Yeah.
I can get rid of them, then I get that space back.
Yep. Oh.
If I can't get rid of them, then against my own will, I have to leave that space used, or suffer the indirect consequences, I guess, of throwing them away and having that, get back to me, or have it handled poorly. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think we see people just experimenting on an individual level, don't you think? Like, it's more than like Instagram, and maybe I don't know how TikTok is, but a lot of social media turned into influencers, and now I think there's a lot of people doing like very serious personal things, and they're like, I need to share this, and like there's not a lot of other people around me doing it, so I have to just kind of like blast it into the ether.
Hmm.
Do you think that's true? Have you experienced that?
Um, I think so, and I guess I think like my part of like my interpretation of what you're saying, I think is like, well, I mean, not my interpretation, I guess, but like the way I see it, I guess, like influencers and social media, I feel like social media has given us such a new strange opportunity to just like create an account and put whatever you want to put out there and see what happens,
Hmm.
and like anything could happen with it. Like you never really know like if something's going to go viral, and um somebody's going to contact you and like want to do a deal with you or something, some just like
Hmm.
random stuff. It's like anything, you can
Yeah.
do anything. um
Okay, let me tell you. If Sorry, did you have another thing? Okay, so to your point, so I started using Instagram a little bit more recently, but so I've been posting mostly like some of the plants that I'm growing. Like I started 2 pots of stuff,
mhm.
but that's like the fifth step in a chain that started from like all the stuff you were just saying, um, that is rooted in me looking into mushrooms. So let me see how far back I can do the chain, and if you want, I'll run down like the 8 steps that got me sucked back into social media and getting influenced by people with the same, getting new ideas and encouragement to keep doing the stuff.
Okay.
So the end of the taproot is probably when it was right before I started middle school. My dad moved us to France for 2 years.
Oh.
Yep. Well, some people know that, in our circle. But while we were there, we ended up living in a little bit more of a rural community on a hillside, and there was a guy who did mushroom foraging there, among other things, right?
Hmm.
Otherwise, a pretty normal guy, and mushroom foraging is more normal there. I didn't get a ton of mushrooms then, but sometimes he would cook us some of the mushrooms that he had foraged, and it was
Hmm.
always like one of the best dishes when we would have dinner together. Fast forward a few years, I got into mushroom foraging because I found a little pocket guidebook in a library
Hmm.
in Colorado doing something totally different. Then I bought a bunch of books and got into mushroom foraging.
Nice.
Then, fast forward a few more years, the leadership of that mushroom foraging group changed, and the new younger person running it, I say younger, but more like our age, so not like a teenager or like 20s, pretty experienced person, uh, starts a Discord. Someone in the So now I'm part of this community, right? Because of an interest, because someone else put me in a situation to experience this other country, right? Now I've got a whole hobby based on that and a new community I'm part of. Someone posted in that Discord about a mushroom festival happening in Santa Cruz. Um, so I decided to go to that. While I'm there, I meet a guy running a booth about plants. I chat with him. He tells me about his buddy back closer to where I live. 1 second. Can you still hear me?
It got like kind of quiet. He frozen. Well, Brendan's phone died. And he's rebooting now. So this is my segment where I talk to you by myself. And we wait for Brendan to come back. Well, we've been going for 4.5 hours. What the actual fuck? I am so tired. I'm so tired. I'm very tired. I wonder if it would be better to just cut this off here and leave it to be continued. For another time. But I feel bad not like concluding the conversation.
Hello?
Yo.
Hey.
Hey, I see you. I hear you.
Okay.
Welcome back.
ただいま。
ただいま帰りました。
Here we go. Okay.
Okay. You want to continue where you left off?
Yeah. So
Alright.
I went to this mushroom festival because of this group that I was in. And then I met a guy there talking about plants, even though it was a mushroom festival. And then he told me about his buddy back where I live because I had to drive like 3 hours to get to this festival, right? So it's far away from me. But he knew from another festival this guy who, or like honestly two other guys, doing urban farming in the city like that I'm in a suburb of, right? Um, so I followed one of those guys on Instagram, and then he posted something about a garden tour right in the community for another community event. So I went to go see the garden that he made in his backyard. That's like part like raised beds and part like this tropical sub area where he grows these cool tropical plants. Kind of doing stuff that like I want to get into. Um, and and from a bunch of other people I met there, it's like that we had a bunch in common. It's like I don't really have like a good way to communicate with these people like what I'm about. Um, so I decided to start posting since I had quit my job by then, right? It's like when I do cool things and it's like, man, I really want to share this with someone. It's like I guess I could make a habit of like taking a picture and like posting it. And since I've been more active doing that on Instagram, I've gotten a bunch of content from people like actually doing homesteading and like their tips for growing stuff and like ideas about like you can grow like sweet potatoes and chickpeas for their greens, right, for the leaves. and
Hmm.
use those as like cut and come again verbs.
Oh.
Um, so it's interesting. So now that's all become like this big feedback loop, um, just because of a community that I like got in because of something I was interested in. So that's just interesting. That's a way that you get sucked into that stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like social media is a way for reinforcing those ideas increasingly. There's
Yeah.
people just sharing what they're doing seriously on their own. And it's I don't know, it's a vehicle for finding each other and inspiring each other. I think those are
Mm-hmm.
going to be what support individuals to become the seed in physical, like closer community to start things.
Mm-hmm. That's that's really, yeah. I think that just having social media is like obviously like it's changed us a lot and it's affected us a lot in the way we live in this reality, and
Hmm.
it's had huge implications, and like most of them are, I don't know like what percentage of them are good or what percentage is not good, but I think that it's definitely an important tool for us, especially going into the next phase of humanity. um, and it's gonna be, I feel like I said, like I think local community is really important, but I think that online space is still gonna have a huge role in how we go forward and communicating with each other.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's I think social media has always just like amplified individual perspectives. Do you agree with that?
Definitely, yeah. And it's like
And
at this
yeah.
point, it's so much more valid than, and so like thank God we have it, because like if we were just dependent on like the mainstream media, like news shows, what kind of world would this be? Everyone, I mean, it's still kind of like half is that, like some people are so confused by this distorted projection of like what's happening in the world. But since we do
Hmm.
have social media, like there's so many opportunities for people to like see the bigger picture
Yeah.
and different perspectives and how real humans experience real reality.
Yeah, especially since we like industrially we've kind of isolated ourselves. So like even though it is like quite a lot to be exposed to, right, on the internet, like all the different perspectives, like way more, right, people have said than way more perspectives than one person has had to take into account at once.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it does kind of like give a tiny opportunity to like reconnect, yeah, with just individuals again.
Yeah,
Um, yeah.
it's important. It's, yeah. So
Hmm.
happy to have that um, avenue. Um, so was there
I
anything?
think
Go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, on social media, I want to say one last thing. I think the
Yeah.
type, like the amount of content we're seeing of people doing, like pursuing their like serious, like personal goals is increasing. And
Yeah.
before it was just like whatever thing you didn't necessarily share, like what was super important to you. Like some people did, but I feel like more people are doing that now,
Mm-hmm.
like sharing their projects and like what they want to bring into the larger community again. So,
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. It's, yeah. It also like facilitates like another, like a huge creative outlet opportunity for individuals, which is like really important and awesome, because sometimes like there wouldn't be any other way to get your message out there if it wasn't for that.
hmm.
Sometimes like, you know, like they're like, okay, if, of course like singing comes to mind for me. Of course there's like, you know, like you could be discovered and become famous, but that like doesn't really happen like that anymore. It's like people um like then they had American Idol, and like I don't know. It's just like, yeah, there's opportunities, but like there's so many people that aren't going to be heard or aren't going to be able to like compete for that one spot.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nice that everybody can put out their own outlet, and even if nobody sees it, like, you're still expressing yourself, and it's still putting yourself out there and experiencing and learning and growing from that.
Yeah, and you're right. So like it used to be that you had to like work your way up to something a little bit bigger. Um, but now you can, there's more ways to start small. There's more ways to attack, uh, or I guess to work that angle earlier on, right? While you're still figuring it out. So it's good.
Yeah.
This can be for part two, but the last thing on my mind that I meant to ask earlier, so I started with a couple things and then we kind of went down this track, which I think was not tangents, oddly. Um, so we can save this first one for next time. I wanted to know what you're doing to, and maybe it's this podcast, what you're doing to start communities or engage in new communities that are centered around your interests, like you're in your immediate vicinity. So social media doesn't count. Um, I guess like blasting this podcast online, therefore also doesn't count. Like around you, like how are you engaging with the community?
Okay, yeah,
So
I
then if
feel
it's
like
like, yeah, telling people about the podcast, yes, that counts. Like just posting on the internet, no. The
okay.
internet doesn't count. Hard mode. Yeah.
Okay. I would like to talk about this now because I think it's what better time would there be?
Yeah. Well, and it's exactly what we've been talking about. So, yeah.
So, definitely the job that I went into after I quit my big girl job, I would say, has been practice and like warming up to move into the space where I want to activate communities, because it's a coffee shop. I interact with people every day. A lot of them are regulars that come in the same time every day, same people every day. But, you know, there's different people too. It's way different than like other jobs I've had, just because like I experience like a lot of different people and I'm very social. I make it a point to be very conscious and welcoming there. And I like to make it a point to have very intimate, personal, interactions with everyone I deal with. So every customer, I try to engage them and just like my intention is just to shine my light. That's like, that's really what I focus on. Like, I want to be like the best person I can be for that person at that time in their day. And like, even though like it's cool because like I learn like there's different dynamics I can play with, and when there's like more people around, sometimes it's like, oh, I have to like think about how like this person is watching, and people are watching me all the time. Like I feel like when I'm there, not just watching me, but I feel like that, like working that job, working behind the counter there is like on a stage. It's like I feel like I'm performing. Not performing as in like trying
like
to play
people are
some
watching
role.
your interaction with other people. Like they're observing. Like you've got an audience. Like everyone else in the environment is like interacting in like an observer. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. And yeah, I try to make people feel like they're part of it too. Like I want to engage people. And yeah, like I think you saw like I put my little business cards out there too. And like it's cool because like people come in, they see me every day, they're like, "Oh, what's going on? What's new?" So a lot of the customers there are like they're keeping up with me. They're like they know what I'm up to all the time. So like a
Hmm.
lot of these people like know what's going on like with this podcast and um even like with like other things in my life. Like I'm in a band right now. I don't know if you knew that. I might have talked to you about that. I'm in a band that we play like rock cover songs. So that's been going on for about 2 years now. It's
Okay,
been
yeah, I was gonna say it's like I feel like you mentioned this was a thing like a couple years ago, and you haven't mentioned it recently. But it's like
mm,
if it's the same thing from like a year or two ago, then yes.
it's been very like side projecty and it's fun when I'm
Mm,
doing it, but like I would it would be kind of like a love-hate thing for me because they practice at night and like I hate going out at night. I get so tired and it like really drains me. I know like you don't like it either, do you? But like but when I'm there, I'm like, oh, this is fun. Like I feel really good. I'm like that's another way I really like get to express myself, which is really nice because other than that,
mm-hmm.
I don't really sing that much anymore, and I get to pick the songs I like, and it's fun. Like that's like a huge um help for me. I feel like that's a huge outlet for me. Like it makes a big difference in my fulfillment. I feel like so like those guys kind of
Hmm.
know what I'm doing too,
Yeah.
and like with the podcast, I just try to think of like, well, this I guess this is another thing. Like I don't know if this you can tell me if this counts or doesn't count, but I just
Hmm.
think of all the people in my communities who've made a personal impact on me, and who I've seen um, being active in communities and like shining their light and promoting the kind of things I like to see in community, like just like loving environments and like supportive things. So those are the kind of people that um, I want to get in touch with, and I like want to let them know what I'm doing and be like, hey, I'd love to
Hmm.
like have a conversation with you and like showcase what you're doing. And yeah, I want to show those people to the world, and I want to show those people support. Like I want to support those people in what they're doing. I want to make them feel like yeah, like I'm doing the right thing and feel recognized and appreciated
Hmm.
in
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. That makes a lot of sense because, like you said, at the coffee shop, you're just shining your light. So when you see cool people and you want to associate with them, then like you kind of want to shine a spotlight on them too. So it's like, yeah, like other people will kind of see them, and the people who they need to connect to will find them, right?
Yep, that's
Yeah,
exactly how I feel. Yeah.
that's more of the networking thing, I guess. I mean, that's part of community. That's a community aspect.
Mhm. Yeah. Ah, so wow, thank you for that question. That was really good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was I don't know if you remember, but I said I had two questions and I started with question number two, but that was going to be question number one.
Oh, okay.
But it felt like it was going to be a bigger question, so I started with the other one.
Ah, all right. All right, it worked out then.
Mm,
All right, I'm gonna read you my last questions. All right, so what are you here for on Earth? What are you here not just to do, but like what are you here to experience in this life?
hmm. I I think what I'm here to experience in this life is understanding really deeply what goes into the things I'm experiencing and being able to to kind of like master my perspective on those, like, and share that perspective. So I think that's kind of what it is, to like observe really deeply and share my observations. I think that's what I'm here to
Nice. Yeah. Like contemplative, kind of.
do. Hmm.
Yeah. Cool. Um, all right. I believe we are in a transition to higher consciousness. Um, what do you see as your role in that transition, and what can we expect to see from you in the golden future of humanity?
So the transition to higher consciousness, I think, is like realizing like all like your full self and not downplaying any of it. I don't think I have to go into that a lot more because we discussed it a lot. And so for all of us, I think it's like just having enough confidence to be a leader in like your way of doing things. So the things that I expect to lead out on uh, are how to like set a better social balance. Like, how do you start from like an individual and then go to not like just a pair, but like a community of two? Like, how do you set rules to work together? So I think leading the charge on that, right? I'm the leader of a group. So taking that from a small group to a medium group to a big group
Mm.
and coming up with better, like working through the kinks on like forming that community and letting it be itself, but also not like just leaving it to chaos to see what happens in the wild, um, is what you can see from me, and
Mm.
specifically with like my fencing class, right? That's what's that's going to get bigger and become more online, um, and become a lot more of a community thing beyond just a fencing club. It's going to be what's what community are the fencers around Sacramento attached to, and how do they support the people around them, building that community. That's what.
Awesome. That's so exciting. Love to hear that. All right. What's your highest and brightest vision of the future without worrying how we get there? It's kind of like a little bit to your last question answer, but if there's anything you want to add.
Highest and brightest vision of the future.
Mm-hmm.
Mm, I think everyone getting a lot more in touch with like being part of a balanced society, like really it being like the norm that everyone goes, well, so and so is just doing that because we're all human and we all do that thing too. So if it's upsetting you, just go ask them what they're experiencing. I think living in a community where that's it, and if you're confused by what someone's doing, the first it becomes like an instinct where you go, well, it's to fill some role, so I'll just be curious about what role that person is trying to play since I don't know what that one is yet. Um, I think we have a natural curiosity, or like kind of how empathy is a sense. I think my highest vision for our reality is is that developing either into a new sense or expanding in its current way, to be aware that everyone is actually just doing, um, is actually just playing a role, right? And being able to kind of like sense like what they're embodying. I think we can. That's something that we have to consciously engage in thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
But that could become a hardwired thing where you just automatically do it.
Yeah, I think so too. I really love the way you phrase that. Yeah. Wow.
That was a good question. I wasn't sure how to answer that for a second.
That was an awesome answer. I loved it. um, this is the last one. Um, oh, well, actually, another thing. Do you want people to find you? And if you do, where can they find you? Do you want to drop any social links or anything?
Yeah. Um, they mostly they can find me online. I think the best place is to, even though I mentioned the fencing class, there's an Instagram account for that. Um, Heisler Fencing Club, at Heisler Fencing Club. There,
Okay.
I'm on Instagram, um, just at Heisler Brendan, no punctuation or anything like that. Um, I'm on Twitch and I'm on Discord. So those are good places to find me. If people are interested in talking more about this stuff or collaborating, especially if they're like kind of in the area or know someone in the area, um, then hit me up, send me a DM.
So what's your area, just so people know?
That's true. I'm in the Sacramento area of California.
All right. And you can send me whatever links you want, and I'll put them in the description so people can see them.
Okay.
And then, were there any questions I didn't ask you that you wished I'd asked? What are they? And please feel free to answer them now.
Mm, I think we went through it.
All right, good.
Um, I guess if you keep looking into astrology stuff more, there's I don't think that topic is as open between us yet. So that's probably more of a future thing. But I want to keep exploring those concepts.
Yeah, and yeah, you kind of touched on that a little bit in your answers and your email to me, and I wanted to write back and say stuff on that. Kind of, I feel like I'm a little bit on the same page. Like I don't feel like, well, to me, like astrology feels really complicated, and
Hmm.
I'm not ready to like try to start figuring all that out at this point because there's a lot going
Yeah,
on. But I do find it really
yeah.
interesting to just see like what like websites like what they have about that kind of stuff.
If if you get into it more, I want to talk about like planet placements and what you think those things, what those symbolize.
Mm.
I really want to have that conversation with you.
Oh
And
yeah.
I mean, I'm not, I could try to introduce it, but like I don't have a super strong handle on it. Um, so I can't really like explain it. But
Yeah. Same.
that would be a fun one. I want
Mhm.
to talk about Sagittarius and Capricorn stuff,
Yeah.
because I think we both have like a little bit of a blend of both of them. I don't talk about the Capricorn stuff on my side very much, but like
Oh.
more like serious, like disciplined, goal oriented bit. I think we have like a bit of that in common. I think that's more of like
Oh.
a Capricorn thing.
We
So
could like pull up our charts and like look at them. That'd be really fun and
yeah.
like to analyze them and stuff. Ah, yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. Um.
But
So
yeah, like I'm not a good chart analyst, so I can't do it. It's and it sounds like you haven't looked into it that much yet. So it's like
well, there's
it'd be fun,
this.
but like we can't do it yet.
Well, there's a site that I really like that it shows the chart, and then if you scroll down, like it kind of elaborates on like each placement that you can find. Like,
Okay.
so there's a lot of that
Yeah,
that
we can.
we could try. I don't know, but all right, I'm gonna conclude this and like say thank you and everything. But I wanted to ask you too if you want. For all of my guests, I've been doing a tarot card reading at the end. So, would you like a reading?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Always. I always want a tarot card.
Ah, okay, we'll do that too. So, first, I'm just gonna say, conclude this, and thank you so much, Brendan. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being my guest on my podcast. This was an amazing 5 hour conversation. I know it wasn't completely 5 hours because there were a lot of like in betweensies, but oh, it was so much fun. I
Hmm.
can't even believe I had this much energy to just like sit through and like talk with you.
No, me neither. I thought when you said 3 hours, like okay, like around 2 hours, like I'm probably gonna start getting like a little tired, like
Yeah,
I need to eat something, even if I eat first. No, we powered through it. It was crazy.
we did. It was crazy. But I'm someone who like will push myself and like just try to make things work like as much as I can, even like at the expense of my own comfort, which is something I should probably work on. But
Hmm.
but
You're
that's
such a
probably a
Capricorn
mind
in
power
that
that
way, though, aren't you?
what'd you say?
Isn't that such a Capricorn thing, like the discipline, just like keep at it kind of thing?
Probably, yeah. At any
Uh-huh.
expense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, thanks again.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. This was great. We'll do a follow-up. We'll do a part two. It's like, where are they now? They had so many goals and visions. Did any of them happen? Like 6 months from now, 3 or 6 months from now, some new stuff will happen for me in fencing class. So it or
Gonna
later, but like as early as that, I'll probably be able to tell you some cool stuff.
nice. I'm gonna have to follow up with Brendan and see what happens, and see if I
Yeah,
try
yeah, yeah.
fencing.
Yeah, that's right. Oh my goodness, we talked about so
You
many other things
forgot
I
already.
forgot. No, yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It
Well,
was
yeah.
so long ago.
It's I know. It was
Oh
like
my
yesterday
god.
we were talking about that. No, you do the tarot reading and then tell me what area you want to find a club in and I'll give you options.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Brendan. Say bye to everyone.
Bye,
Bye
bye
bye.
everyone. Bye, bye. So I have a question for you though. So do you feel like there's something that you perceive about me that no matter how many words I say describing myself, I never say out loud?
Hmm.
Do you feel like there's something about myself that I leave unspoken that's that you that you perceive or that's obvious?
Hmm. I don't know. I think you're very thoughtful. I might have already said that. Um.
But I'll call myself pensive or thoughtful.
Yeah.
I think I represent that part of myself. It's like, is there something about me that I don't hide, but I also never acknowledge? Do you like?
Hmm.
Have you ever observed me doing that? I think everyone might do it a little bit, but I do maybe like control my image a bit. So like, yeah,
Hmm. I don't know. I can't think of anything like specific. Like, um, I feel like I imagine you, like, from how I know you, which is only on the internet, right? I imagine you, like, in life to be, like, more introverted than I think you probably really are.
hmm,
Because you don't, like, the way you talk to me, like, you don't seem very. I mean, you're very, like, social, you're very, like, collected, articulate, like, um, but for some reason, like, I want to say, like, I imagine you, like, actually being more introverted than you, like, put off. Maybe.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I don't go out unless I got something to go outside to do. I don't. I stick in my room and I look stuff up. So okay.
Okay.
Do you
Yeah.
want me to do you? I
Yeah.
think I can say the same thing. I can turn it around. You want me to say something about you that I think is true, and maybe you'll go like, oh yeah, I guess that's true once I say it. But it's like the thing that
Yeah.
you never say about yourself.
Yeah, that's a cool idea. I like it.
Okay, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just because I feel like there's something like I feel like there's something bubbling up in the back of my head about that too.
Hmm.
Hmm. I feel like you talk a lot about the path, like the methods you're trying to use, or like the energies you're engaging to achieve a goal, and you don't always I think it makes you come across as still wondering if you're going to achieve it when there's already this certainty that you're pursuing a thing that you are. It's like, have you read Sun Tzu a lot? Okay, so one of in The Art of War,
Hmm.
um, one of the things that is said is, um, win win a battle first, win the war first, then go fight. It's about putting yourself
Hmm.
in the right position to win, and only then do you like pull the trigger and commit.
Hmm.
Um, and I feel like you don't always say. I don't know if you always feel or share like your feeling that you've succeeded before you even started. But I feel like you do go about pursuing things as though it's like, well, like maybe you can even procrastinate a little bit because it's like, well, as long as I get around to it eventually, it's like it's gonna happen. So I feel like there is like this kind of hidden certainty, and like maybe you don't want to jinx it or something, but it's like,
Hmm.
I don't know, it's not even like a self-assuredness. It's just like a I feel like you pursue things as someone who has experienced already succeeding. Like you have an image of being a successful person, right? Let's like you're
Wow.
not a failure. Yeah, is like this little like glimmer that I see like from like behind you or like inside you.
Wow. Yeah, I totally feel that. And maybe to like answer a little bit, I would say that like the reason I I'm kind of more careful about like how I communicate that is that like maybe I don't want to. I guess yeah, that's a thing, right? I have this thing about like maybe I don't want to seem too too good or too perfect. So I like
Hmm.
I when I communicate things, I don't like come across like as confident as I really feel.
Hmm.
Is that kind of what you're saying? Like when I
Yeah,
talk
yeah, yeah.
about things I'm gonna do, yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, or it's like yeah, like you present a more balanced view of it,
Hmm.
even, but it's like I don't know, it's not. I think some people might interpret it as still like you wondering if you're still going to succeed or not, and like we all have our moments of doubt, right? But
Mm-hmm.
then there's the presenting the balanced view that like a master of something presents because they can appreciate both sides of it. So it's
Mm.
I feel like you never say of yourself it's like, oh yeah, I'm the master of this particular realm and that's why I'm working in it. But it's I think it's you go through it with like the skill of a master in some ways, or like
Wow.
you go through things with the I guess the energy of like somewhere between the ace of a suit and the king of a suit, right? It's like
Huh.
the like really like polar energy of something, and all the way to the end of like the mastery. Like I've gone through this is more of like the king card, right?
Huh.
But I feel like you have big like ace energy.
Big what energy?
Ace energy,
Oh,
yeah,
oh yeah.
yeah,
Oh, sweet.
yeah.
Yeah, I
That's
try
what.
to
Or,
come across
yeah.
like more humble, I think. But like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
cuz I don't want to like boast or like be like I don't want to sound cocky, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
right?
I know, but you're a leader.
So
You're
that's
a
all.
leader, Kimberly. So you can. I think you'll find the right way to let people know that
Mm,
you're still working through it,
that's what this
but
says.
you're doing the things. Yeah, is it?
The
Yeah,
yellow, yeah.
yeah. You don't often. That's what it is. You never say it's like, look, guys, I'm in charge. I'm the leader, but but you're leading people.
Hmm.
That's what I would say about you. Is the unspoken thing that you still embody.
Wow. Nice. Wow, I loved this exercise. That was like really cool, Brendan. Hey, maybe you should do a
Thanks for the
podcast.
rating.
Oh, you're welcome.
Maybe me? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, you ask
I don't
good
know, I feel more
questions.
comfortable. I do ask good questions. I like stealing other people's questions. Let them they do all the organization work and I can do it.
Oh, awesome. Wow, well, you had a long day and now you have to go do a fencing class, right?
Yeah, I can do fencing in my sleep, but
All right,
that's no biggie.
cool. All right, well, thanks
What about
again.
you? It's almost 7:30.
Yeah, it's like time for bed now at this point. I'm just gonna like eat a sandwich and go to bed.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, are you gonna eat something?
I am starving.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'm gonna have a little snacky, then go to fencing, and then I'm gonna eat a burger after that.
That sounds great. Well, have fun.
Okay.
Thank you again. I can't wait to share this episode. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Bye.
Good luck editing it.
Thank
Talked about
you.
a lot of stuff.
We did. All right. Well, have fun. Talk to you
Okay.
soon.
Yeah. We should video chat again sometime. I want to show you more
Yeah.
stuff that's like not necessarily podcast stuff. This
All
was fun.
right. Absolutely. I'd be down for that. Yeah.
I'm not much of a video chat person usually.
Yeah.
Maybe I should do more of that.
Yeah.
I should video chat my friends.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Some other time.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for the call. Have a
Thank
good one.
you. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Goodbye.
Bye. 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 Wow. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching this episode. If you're not already, please remember to like this video and subscribe to support this channel. Don't forget to check the links for today's guest in the description below. If you like watching my podcast and you think to yourself, I'd love to be a guest on that show, well, do something, get curious, get interested, be active in your communities. We all as individuals have great value to offer, and more than that, significance in being uniquely you. I invite you to open yourself up to every possibility you've ever dreamed of for yourself, or held back from letting yourself even dream. To quote Bonnie Ray, give them something to talk about. How about love? Really, put love in everything you do and watch miracles happen. Give us something to talk about that aligns with my mission of community, love, and awakening higher consciousness, and I'll have you on as my guest to ask, what is it like to be you? Keep up with me to be notified of bonus content when it becomes available, including tarot readings for my guests, opening ceremonies, breathing exercises, and more, including the incredible Breath 101 practice with Karina Karjan.
Lots of gold beneath her feet. Jenny dances in the street. Shadows blend with twilight hue. Spirit sings a song so true. In a world where dreams come true.
All right. Do you need to do it? Do you need another moment before we get back into it?
2 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There we go. I just needed a second to rib on one of my fencing students.
Cool.
Are you still in the probably yes. Are you still in my fencing class Discord?
Mm-hmm. Pretty
Do you
sure.
ever read any of the stuff there? I wonder sometimes.
I don't
I don't think
really.
any of it's relevant to you.
Yeah, I don't really. Haven't really checked other servers on Discord. Haven't been active much on Discord in like other servers. Even my own like Discord server. I don't really do much.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I'm not good at like keeping up with the. That's, but I do want to work on that though because community is important to me. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but I haven't been very good at keeping up with that.
Well, okay, yeah. So it's speaking on the topic again of my experience of you. Um, I know that you like to lurk sometimes, and so I never know if you're silently observing everything or if your focus is just somewhere else. And I mean,
Mm.
you hop back and forth a little bit, right? So every once in a while, I'll wonder, or it'll come back to my attention, like, oh yeah, Kimomu was in this Discord too, and I'll wonder, it's like, what do you think about these shenanigans, or do you even
Mm.
see them? It's okay. Yeah, you don't need to see them. There's no, yeah. Keep observing the things that you're observing instead.
Okay. Well, no, now I'm kind of curious.
Oh, it's just shenanigans. You know, it's normal life shenanigans. So you'll the variety that you see everywhere. Just I care about those because I'm involved in them.
All right. Just at the end of your, what you're saying, it like clipped in and out a little bit. Just so you know, I don't know if you know what happened, but the audio.
Okay, I was playing with my microphone a little bit.
Okay.
Is it really bad? Can you hear me again though?
No, it was. I could like kind of hear what you're saying, so it was fine. But I just wanted to let you know in case you knew what it was or didn't know what it was.
Okay, is it fine now though?
Yeah, it's fine now.
Okay, yeah, I was messing around with the other earbud. So I think I was introducing noise in the other. Whoops.
Whoopsie.
I was fidgeting. You caught me.
It's hard. I do it too.
I know.